Welcome back. It is great to have your company this morning. The stage is set for the funeral of the century to get underway in a matter of hours. Buckingham Palace has confirmed Prince George and Princess Charlotte will attend the Queen's funeral later today. They will walk into Westminster Abbey with their parents behind Her Majesty's coffin.
Let's get today's take on this with journalist John Mangos and Nine Honey's Shelley Horton. John, look, the thing is, it is expected that the royals maintain this sort of strong exterior, this stiff upper lip that we see, to sort of to hide their emotions, even though they'd be grieving, you know, someone who is important not only to them but to the nation, to many people around the world. Yeah. But what do you think about this? Then the kids are going to walk behind the coffin too. I mean, it feels like that feels a lot to me. The dad in me wants to protect them a little bit. Yeah, see, considering what the boys went through.
Yeah, I think it's rotten, to be quite honest.
Oh, wow.
We've just been hearing about how normal a grandmother she was to those children, and now the establishment is asking these children to behave abnormally and not show any emotion at having lost their beloved grandmother. So it is just, this whole stiff upper lip thing is just so archaic, it's just so...
Wow.
Last 2 centuries. Yeah. And it's, more importantly, it's unfair on the psychology of the kids. I mean, even Harry has come out and said he's seeing a therapist, and this is just memories of losing his mum. So it's really cruel. I mean... And
Wills as well, in the crowd that a few days ago said, you know, this is very reminds me of that time with my mother walking behind the coffin, you know.
And you know what happens when someone dies? You grieve. And you know how you grieve? You cry. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's saying, I miss you. And to make
but do you think I mean, do you think that they've told the children, make sure you don't show emotion?
Of course they have.
You think?
It's an edict. Absolutely it is. They are not to show any sign of emotion in public. They've got to be stony-faced. It's an edict.
Good luck with that with the kids.
Well, it's so hard because they're so young, Shelley. I mean, we are seeing a change with the royals. You know, with the Queen, we didn't ever see her show emotion. But you know, with the modern royals, Prince William and you know, Kate, they've all been more open about how they feel.
Yes, but I'm in furious agreement with John in that this is actually damaging. This is not how it should be in the present time. I mean, it used to be keep calm and carry on, but in fact now it should be, hey, are you okay? And it's okay to not be okay. I think the fact that we had that really momentous moment of the grandchildren surrounding the coffin and there was zero emotion showed, that means that they were swallowing it down, and that can only come back up at another time. So I agree with John that it seems like the wrong thing to be doing, and it would be more progressive if we allowed people to cry and show emotion. And I would question whether or not we really need George and Charlotte walking behind the coffin. I feel that in fact could actually do some long-term damage, as Harry has said it did to him.
All right, let's move on, because also making news this morning, the Queen's Memorial holiday this week is turning into really a super long weekend for a lot of Aussies out there, with a huge number of workers planning to call in sick. Shelley, particularly if you're in Melbourne, this could be a 5-day weekend. It's expected to cost the economy as much as $461 million. I mean, you can see why some people are up in arms with the fact that we're having this National Day of Mourning anyway.
To me, it should have been today. It would have made a lot more sense. Then people can stay home, they can watch the funeral, and it is a very important day that you can mourn and just show respect. However, Melbourne already had Friday because it's AFL Grand Final. So they already had the 5 days. So I think, 4 days. So I think now just do the right thing by your employer and put in for annual leave. Just make it annual leave, not a sickie. It's a sickie is when all businesses, you know, have to throw their hands up and try and cope with limited staff. Just put in for annual leave. And also, just so you know, Friday the 23rd is my birthday. So you could always just say, it's Shelley's birthday, because
perhaps that's what we need
I will not be working.
Yeah, let's just make, you know, because Melbourne get that extra day. So why don't we just make the rest of Australia a public holiday for Shelley's birthday?
That's it.
That makes complete sense to me.
Speaking of Queens,
it's going to be a bit obvious though, John, isn't it? If people call up sick.
National Shelley Day. On National Shelley Day.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea that Shelley raises here, that rather than do the sickie, I think think bosses would respect you more if you applied for a day off and would probably say, you know what, you know, Thursday, you've got the Friday, it is Saturday, Sunday next. Look, I'm a Swans supporter, so for me it's fallen straight in my lap. I'm not doing anything this Friday other than cheering on my team on National Shelley Day. But no, I think that's right. What Shelley says is hopefully plant something in people's minds that there's a proper way to do it. And that is to...
But then when so many people are doing that and saying, can I have an annual leave day, they're going to have to say no to
Should
people.
this National Day of Mourning, John, should have been something that the Prime Minister should have come out and said, if you choose to have this, you've worked it out with your boss, as opposed to just decreeing that we should all just be shut down for the day.
Well, mainly because, what boss is going to believe anybody who calls in on Friday morning and says, I'm not feeling well?
Yeah.
Let's face it, no one's going to believe it. And if I was the boss, I'd say, look, if you're that unwell, let me call an ambulance for you and take you to the nearest hospital and see how many people decline the offer.
Just quickly before we go, because we know it's Shelley's birthday, but you actually met Her Majesty.
Yes, I have.
What was the situation behind that, and how was it?
It was wonderful. It was 1986. I was president of the press gallery here in New South Wales while I was Channel 9's political correspondent, and I was invited in that capacity, and I was one of those people that stood in the line, and she came along, and she said hello. I said hello, Ma'am, M-A''A'-M. We were under instructions not to offer to shake hands unless she put her hand out, which she did. She asked me what I did for a living, and I told her that I was the state political reporter for Channel 9. And the Premier of New South Wales was Neville Wran, who was standing there and introducing us. And he mumbled something about John being a fine journalist, and the Queen said, well, I'm delighted to hear that, and she did display the sense of humour, because she said to me something along the lines of, knowing that Neville Wran was Premier, as long as you're keeping him honest, or something like that. And I thought, you are just as warm and humorous as people say you are, for someone that made small talk for a living.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is incredible when you speak to anyone who met her, and she did make them feel so special.
Yeah. She listened to what they said. That's the difference. And instead of just a hello, she clearly listened and then had a retort.
Yes.
Special.
Shelley, that's a hard thing to do, isn't it? It's a hard trick to have. I mean, we were talking just the other day in a noisy room for a Channel 9 event, and I was like, I heard every third word you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, and remember, for the Queen, it was her every day, and for everyone who met her, it was a memory that they would keep for the rest of their life. So there's a lot of pressure there, but you know what? She was one of a kind.
She knew what she was doing. That's why she's a queen, All right.
That's
Shelley
right.
and John, thank you both so much for being here today. We appreciate seeing you both.
Thank you, team.
Thank you. Bye.
Straight ahead, the King's passions and promises. We take a close look.